All right, so here we go. All right, so the first example says determine the equation of a line with a slope of -3 and it passes through the point -210. All right, so to do that, again, just like when we were looking at a graph, the equation of a line is always in the form y equals mx plus b. And again, we need two things, the slope and the y-intercept. All right, once we have those, then you've got your equation of a line. Now, we're lucky in this question because it says determine the equation of a line with a slope of -3. So it's already telling us that. Perfect. We already got half the information. Now, so what I can do is I can write the equation of a line that I have so far. And so now I have y equals, but instead of an m, I'm going to put that -3 in there. -3x plus the b. Now here's the problem. We need the y-intercept. And so when I have an equation and I want to solve for b, in this particular case, if I had an x and a y, if I had these, then I could solve for b. But I do have an x and a y that work. Right here, this point is an x and a y that work. There's the x coordinate, and there's the y coordinate. The -2 is our x coordinate, and our y value is 10. And why it works is because this point is on the line. That's what makes it work. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sub in point -210. All right, so what that means is instead of a y, I've got 10. So instead of 10 or y, there's my 10. I have that -3, my slope. Now my x value is -2. And then, of course, I have my plus b. So now I have an equation with just one variable, because that's what you got to be able to do to solve an equation. You only have one variable. If you have more than one, you can't solve it. All right, and then I'm going to solve for b. And so I have this 10 over here. I have a -3 times a -2. A negative times a negative gives us a positive. And we get a +6 plus the b. Now, solving equations, I want to get b by itself, isolating the variable. I'm going to move that 6 over to the other side. And when it changes sides, it changes sign. So it's going to be a -6 equals b. And so what we have is 10 minus 6. Well, that means our y-intercept is 4. And so because of that, I've got my 4 here, my y-intercept. Now I can write the equation of the line, right? Because all I needed was the slope and the y-intercept. And so it's y equals, my slope is -3. So it's going to be -3x. And my y-intercept is 4. And there we go. Is there any questions about that at all? Really tough stuff. This is probably one of the hardest things we're going to do is today. What's that, sorry?
I think I just figured it out. Yeah.
I'll check the chat here too. I got 2 devices going on. Yeah,
That
okay.
makes much more sense now.
All right, so we're going to try another one here. All right, so we're going to do example 3. So let's see here. Go clean. All right, whoops. Okay, so example 3. Well, these all start with determine the equation of a line, so I might as well leave that. With a y-intercept. Whoops. Oh, it's still wet. Let's try a better one here. There we go. Shoot. Let's see here. That's a little wet still. All right. Okay. Try a different color. with a y, there we go, y-intercept of, what's it say here? Y-intercept of -3. And passes through point, and our point is -2,5. All right. There we go. So now, again, same thing as before. The equation of a line is going to be in the form y equals mx plus b. All right. Again, we need our slope and our y-intercept. And the thing with these questions, the first thing you look for is, does it tell me something that's obvious, right? And so in this case, again, we have a little bit of an obvious thing going on here. It says determine the equation of a line with a y-intercept of -3, which means this time our b value is -3. All right, so now what our equation looks like is we have y equals mx minus 3. Now again, just like the last one, if I have an x and a y that work, then I can solve for m, which is my slope. And I do have an x and a y that work. Right over here, again, passes through this point, where again, the x always comes first. That's our -2, and our y is 5. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sub in point -2,5. All right, so now my equation looks like this. I got a y here, so y is, again, 5 equals m times x, which in this case is -2 minus 3. All right, now one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to rewrite this. Just a simple little change. I have m times -2. Well, usually what you do is you put the number first. All right, so it should be really 5 is equal to -2m minus 3. But again, I'm trying to solve for m. So what I'm going to do is get m by itself. So I'm going to move this -3 over to the other side. And again, change the sides, change the sign. All right, so I have 5 plus 3 equals -2m. Let's see here, we'll go up over here. And so 5 plus 3 is 8 equals -2m. And I've isolated the variable. The last step is to divide by my numerical coefficient, which is always the number in front of your variable. All right, so those -2's divide each other out. And it looks like my m value is going to equal 8 divided by -2, which is a -4. And so now that I've got my slope, it's -4. Bingo, I've got the two pieces of information I need to write the equation of a line. And so now the final thing I'm going to do is it's y equals, my m was -4, and there's always an x after that. And then my y-intercept was -3. And so the equation of our line is we have y equals -4x minus 3. All right. Any questions? Where I got something, what happened, or I give it an erase? Check the chat. Doesn't look like nothing. All right. Now, we'll get into the hardest one. The last one. And I've learned how to record this note. So I'm going to post this note or this video that you're watching right now on the link. Or not on the link, but on the website. All right. All right, so example number 6 is the next one I'm going to do. All right, so here we go. It says determine the equation of a line. That's why I just left that up. That passes through points. Let's see here, -3, 8, and the point negative 1, 4. There we go. All right. And as I said before, when we're finding the equation of a line, we're looking for two things here. Y equals mx plus b. It's got to be in that form. So we need our y-intercept and our slope. All right, slope and y-intercept. And again, I look at the question, and I'm like, is there anything that's obvious here? Do we have the slope? Do we have the y-intercept like we had before? Not this time. So that's a problem. So I got to be able to find one of them, right? And does anybody know how I'm going to find either the slope or the y-intercept? All I got is these 2 points. The line goes through this point, negative 3, 8, and negative 1, 4. Well, here's what you do. We have a formula for slope. We looked at this last test. You have m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what that is a formula to find slope if you have 2 points. And what the y's are the y coordinates. What the x's are the x coordinates. And the ones mean the first point. So I'm going to say the negative 3, 8 is my first point. So x1 would be negative 3, just like y1 would be 8, because I'm going to say that's my first point. My second point, well, the negative 1 would be my x2, the x coordinate of my second point. And the 4 would be my y2, the y coordinate of my second point. All right, so now I'm going to find the slope by plugging into my formula here. I'm going to do a little more work than the last one here. So y2 again was 4. I have a minus sign in the equation. A y1, which is an 8. All right, and then down below I have x2, which is a negative 1, minus sign in the equation. Minus x1, which is negative 3. Oh, so I got to put that in brackets. All right, so let's see. On the top here, I have 4 minus 8. That's a minus 4. Then on the bottom, I got minus 1 minus minus 3. Well, when you have 2 minus signs come together, that gives you a plus sign. So it's really minus 1 plus 3. Minus 1 plus 3 would be 2. Then finally, I got a fraction, but actually I can solve this. I can make this a actual whole number. Because negative 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. After all that, there we go. We finally got the slope. But guess what? Still missing the y-intercept. But I can write the equation, update it a bit. Y equals mx plus b. Well, now I know I have y equals, my slope is negative 2 here, so negative 2x plus b. Now, again, we're at this situation. I want to solve for b. If I have an x and a y that will work, then I can solve for b. And guess what? This time, I do have an x and y that work, again, but I got 2 of them. I have 2 points. Each point will work because they're on the line. So I can either pick point 1 or point 2. I'm going to go with point 1 because it is the first one. So I'm going to sub in point negative 3, 8. All right. Where again, negative 3 is my x value. 8 is my y value. All right. So now I'm going to substitute those in. So again, they're y. What are there for here? Y is 8. Put that in there. My slope is negative 2. Times my x, which this time is minus 3, plus b. So there. Now we got an equation where we can solve for b. All right. So let's see here. I got an 8 here. Negative 2 times negative 3. Negative times negative is positive. Plus b. All right. And again, to solve for b, I'm going to move this 6 over to the other side. When it changes sides, changes sign. So I have a minus 6 equals b. And it looks like my b value is 2. And so the equation of a line, of this line, I've got my slope is negative 2. My y-intercept is 2, and so the equation is going to be y equals negative 2x plus 2. And that's how we do it. So that one's a little more involved because you got to use our slope formula, all right, to figure out, to use the 2 points to find the slope, and then again subbing back in. Now, I do want to show you one thing before. Now, I subbed in the first point, right? What happens if I subbed in the other point? So I'm going to switch it up here. So everything else the same. But this time, I'm going to not sub in the first point. Make sure it's nice and dry. Oh, I'm going to sub in point number 2. All right, which is negative 1, 4. All right, so again, my x value is always the first one, negative 1. My y value is the 4. All right, so now when I substitute in, again, I'm going to do the therefore, just repeating here. Y is 4 equals my slope, which is negative 2, times the x value, which in this now is negative 1, plus my b. And so I have a 4 here. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2 plus b. And again, if I want to get b by itself, I'm going to move the 2 over to the other side, change the side, change the sign. So it's going to be a minus 2. And again, b is 4 minus 2, which is 2. You get the same answer because both points work because they're both on the graph. So it doesn't matter which one you pick. You get the same answer because a linear equation, the line follows the same pattern. So you should get the same values. All right, so hold on here. I'm going to